This is I made some pretty bold truth bombs in the previous video, and this is always that's like the father side of me. Reminds me of my dad. My dad was not me, but obviously, but um, the flower side of me is mama. That's the nurturing, loving, kind, compassionate, um, the super empath, if you will. Even though I'm one, but it's like when a father is serious, like this is serious stuff. This is where the rubber hits the pavement. So I'm being serious now. Okay. In other words, it's not funny. It's not a joke. Not when we're talking about souls on the line here, and spirits in a spiritual battle. So one of the easiest ways that I had to translate this and just make it very, very simple. Okay, I know what a war crime is. I know what a crime against a human is with a soul, or a crime against the soul. If you are what love is, you're not going to do harm to another, because what I do to you, I do to me. Okay, I already gave that example. When I was 9 years old, I experienced a loss of voltage that shook me up like electrical shock. That's hypersensitivity. Really hypersensitivity. I get shook up in my central nervous system. My blood pressure goes skyrockets. I'm not supposed to experience that. I'm not supposed to experience a loss of voltage in anybody as a result of whatever happened. That's a measurement that you measure against realms you've been in. Otherwise, how could you know that? How could you measure the difference between the two? Okay. So the way that I translate this in a future experience, when I was at Rockwell International Corporation, which was the Space Transportation Systems Command, also associated with the Satellite Systems Command, and also associated with the Information Systems Command, okay, which were all their supercomputers in those tall buildings. So one day, I was doing fire inspections as part of the in-house fire department, because you needed a clearance to be in-house. And I went into a building and I saw 3 tanks. And I went to look on MSDS, which is a material safety data sheet, to look at the chemistry of what's in these tanks. And because I came out of the environmental engineering area, having gone to school at the University of California, Irvine, then I could immediately realize that these chemicals are like ethyl methyl bad stuff, that these need to be properly labeled, stored, and disposed of in a hazardous waste landfill. Instead, what they were doing is they were using leaky hose to drain it into the groundwater, upon which 75% of everybody in Southern California gets its drinking water. So I already know what's known as the mutagenic effects that's going to have on DNA and future reproduction. Okay? That's a war crime. For me, that's a war against all creation, because anything that comes out of a birth giver means that what was intended to come out of that birth giver is not going to come out the way it was intended, because of the damage that's going to be done to the DNA of that mother. It's exposed, so now we're into exposure. Now we're into what we call the dose-response relationship, which is the input into a computer and the output, the end-user product. Okay, a baby. Attached, that spirit and the soul. So when you're experiencing that crime and you are now aware of that, you can't be unaware of that. Not if you are what love is. Now what you have to do is decide, I am now, because I work for this company, I'm getting paid by this company, I'm getting paid to participate because this company is engaged in a business, and I'm an employee of that business that's engaged in a war crime. And now that I become aware of it, I have a responsibility. That's what Robert L. Jackson meant at the Nuremberg trials when he said you cannot tolerate to ignore it. I didn't ignore it. I immediately reported it. Okay? That means you know when a crime is being committed against a soul. And you're going to do everything you can to stop that. Because you already know that somebody's going to suffer in the future as a result of doing nothing. Okay? That's not honor. Okay? A spiritual warrior, when you become aware of a crime against the soul, which is spiritual torture, and you become aware of it, you have responsibility, because we're going to be held accountable for that on our record. Okay? When you're in a spiritual classroom and you see something that is